Hello, I'm Jeffrey Allman, yoga teacher, meditation guide, mindfulness coach. Today, we're going to talk about pigeon poses. And I purposely am sitting in maybe a pigeon posture you haven't seen before. Part of talking about pigeon poses, I think, is also talking about props. And so I'm sitting on this huge block, and I'm not suggesting to anyone that you have to have blocks, but I wanted to show you blocks of 3 different sizes. Behind me, a bolster, a strap, a mat. We've been in the pandemic now for, 9 months, and it might be time to think about adding some props. So as I go through these different pigeon postures, I may incorporate props. You don't have to have props, but you might start considering grabbing some props. A little backstory on pigeon for me, I've been doing yoga for 20 years, but seriously 15 years. And 15-ish years ago, I remember yoga teachers in the studio saying, "Oh, pigeon pose, you might find yourself crying, laughing, getting angry, leaving the studio." And at the time I thought, oh, whatever, because yoga was purely physical for me, and I had not really begun to understand the magic of yoga and how it can really help mentally as well as physically. Long story short, the day came unexpectedly when pigeon posture became this catharsis that brought me to tears. And now, ever since then, whenever I go into pigeon, I find myself crying. And I mean, sometimes a really good cry. And eventually, pigeon led to other postures being able to find those tears, that nowness, that pause between thoughts and scatter and wander and yesterday and tomorrow. Really, the whole purpose of yoga and mindfulness being in this moment. And pigeon is a great way to get there through hip opening and heart opening and just deep release. You are able to really free up maybe some old memories, emotions, and then really work through them and let them go. Okay, so we're going to start with the most probably popular, or I would say frequently taught pigeon, starting in downward facing dog. You inhale your back leg up, whichever one that is, that will eventually be the front leg. You bring your knee to your wrist and your opposite foot to your other wrist. So in this case, it's my right foot that's forward, my right knee to my right wrist, my right toes towards my left wrist, and my left foot or toes directly behind me. Now, you don't want to do this cold, and I've done some yoga, but I'm still a little tight. So the goal is to eventually bring your heart and then potentially your head all the way through to the mat and grounding. And in doing this, you want to really engage your foot to protect the knee. And if you feel any knee pain at all, you don't need to go any further. So you might just be right here and be like, oh yeah, I feel that. But then we want to start talking about support, and that's where all of these props come in. I've got all different types of props. It might be something as simple as taking a block and throwing it under your glute to give yourself a little support in the back. That would be a great first step. It could be something more luxurious, like taking a yoga bolster. Same idea. This time you're bringing your leg over the bolster, the entire front of your leg over the bolster. Your weight is on the bolster. Your hips are settled. Oh, your pelvis is settled. Your back leg's still straight behind you. Your foot's still engaged, but you've got a little support. Oh, and that feels so good. And you might be able to surrender a little further and with less uncomfortable sensation. The key thing is never any knee pain. Okay, never any knee pain. So you can surrender here. You might, another great place for a block, throw your block under your forehead. The entire time you are practicing, you should be breathing. I will always remind you in class, I'm talking your breathing. So long, wonderful breaths Each exhale longer than your previous inhale. Each inhale longer than the previous exhale. So the entire practice really working on letting go, lengthening your breath. And if ever the physicality gets in the way of your breath, back off the physicality and lean into the breath. That's what it's all about. All these different postures that we do are often just a distraction to distract us from the wander and the scatter, the rumination, the anxiety, the depression, so that we can really truly be here now. Some more pigeons to teach you. Perhaps going forward in a sleeping pigeon doesn't work for you, so you might consider a double pigeon, where you really stack your legs right over the top of each other. And here's another great spot where a block could come in. That's really nice. And then a forward fold. Oh, does that feel good? And what you'll notice, whether you put a block or a pillow there, when it's not there, it feels completely different. Oh, and gorgeous. Really nice. So this might be a good way to start introducing yourself to pigeon, is through the double pigeon. Because you might get a really nice stretch right here and not need to lean or go into any sort of forward fold, but slowly but surely sitting on your sit bones and starting to really open up those hips, you can slowly work your way forward. So gorgeous. Oh, and again, you could bring a block in and ground your forehead to the block, ground your third eye to the block. What I was demonstrating at the opening, which I think is wonderful, I have all these different blocks. I love this huge block. I use it a lot. A few different things you could do with this. So let's talk about a traditional sleeping pigeon potentially. And this could be a really dense pillow from your couch, or a couple dense pillows from the bed, or it could just be a really big block or a couple blocks. So you're bringing your shin, not your knee, not your joint, not your wrist, your shin onto this block. Oh, isn't that gorgeous? And if you're plus size like me and you've got a little bit of a belly, this might be a little easier to get into. But still just this gorgeous, beautiful, delicious release in your glutes. Wonderful hip opener. And just surrender. Oh, is that beautiful? Oh, is that gorgeous? Yeah, just like that. That's another wonderful use of a prop. Another fun one that I really like, if you've got a couple blocks at home, is taking two blocks on either side of your leg, taking one leg forward. In this case, I've been doing my right leg. Let's do my left so I can get equal. You always want to stay equal, not just do one side. You could actually take your leg and put it up on blocks like this. So you're getting a nice stability. The thing is you don't want, your knee is meant to go just like a hinge on a door. It's not like your shoulder or your hip. It is a simple hinge. It doesn't go rotary in the socket. So you don't want to try to tweak it left to right. By supporting your leg on blocks or that singular block, you can really protect that and you feel nothing in your knee, which is what you want to feel in your knee, is literally nothing. And then you can find this gorgeous, beautiful pigeon expression. You might get really into it and grab your toes. You might go even further. You might just hang out and watch TV. It's wonderful, really nice. Another fun one is lying on your, one more before I lie on my back, which I kind of opened with, is sitting up a little higher. If you're tight, the thing with blocks is the idea is that you're bringing the floor closer to you. You're bringing the ground up. So in this case, because I'm going to give you an example of this lying on the back, but if you're really tight, it might be hard. You could sit up on a block or a little stool, never your knee to ankle. So never joint to joint, but rather bone to bone, meat to meat. You see that? You see that? And I'm getting this wonderful pigeon right here. I could even bring, once I'm in this, oh, wow, what am I setting up for here? I can bring my knee into my elbow, my foot into my other elbow, and really bring my entire foot, my entire leg up against my chest and find this glorious hip opening. Oh, is that wonderful? And this might have been previously inaccessible to you. And now here's a great way to find that accessibility using a prop. So that's another gorgeous thing. Now, on your back, to continue this demonstration of the bajillion different ways to pigeon, because there's so many gorgeous ways to pigeon, is lying on your back in constructive rest, which is your knees elevated, your feet flat on the floor. And I'm going to stick with the left side because I did all those demos at the beginning on my right side, but now I'm going to continue with my left. So again, bringing the side of my shin to my thigh. So it's meat and bone to meat and bone, not joint to joint. And this is a good way to start and ease into your pigeon. You can grab behind your thigh. You can grab behind your shin, which is wonderful. This is a really accessible way. If sleeping pigeon has been inaccessible to you, maybe this is a good way. And you're just slowly pulling toward yourself. Now, you're not trying to bounce. It's not bouncing. What I suggest is on the inhale, when you take a big inhale, try to hold your ground, hold your position. And on your exhale, try to bring whatever the stretch is a little deeper. So not just in pigeon, in anything. So on the exhale, we stretch deeper, and on the inhale, we hold our ground. We don't go back and forth. We're not looking to do that, okay? You could even go a little further and grab behind your calf. You could go all the way back on your back. You could, even when you start to get open, bring your knee and your foot right up to your chest and get this beautiful deep release supine pigeon. It's so gorgeous, right? Beautiful. Oh my goodness. Now, as you start to master pigeon, you could go a little deeper and a little further. I'm going to go back to my right side now and show you this. And you could just be right here and go, oh, is that gorgeous? I love that. But I want to add a little something, and you could add a little quad stretch to it. Oh, beautiful. So gorgeous. And depending on how flexible you are, you might even throw a strap on your foot. You might throw your foot right into your elbow. I am not loose enough right now. I don't want to tear anything. I was going to demonstrate that. But know when to back off. Don't let your ego be performative. One of the best parts of practicing at home is there's no performative pressure. You don't have to worry about being in an exact posture in a certain way. That it's not about the expression of the posture. It's about the intention. Can we find an intention and then express the posture in the best possible way for our body on this day, in this moment? One last thing, you could even do pigeon standing if you want to play with balance and bring your foot or your knee and bring your foot and your entire leg right up to your chest. Oh, is that gorgeous? So wonderful. I'm sure there's a lot more ways to pigeon that I did not show you today, but we only have so long and I didn't want to bore you. But next time you're in one of my classes, I almost always offer pigeon because pigeon is really the posture that got me hooked on yoga. And yoga has really saved my life. That's a whole nother story. So I encourage you to come yoga with me, and I really encourage you to explore all the different beautiful ways to pigeon, or half pigeon, or sleeping pigeon, or supine pigeon, or king pigeon. Well, there's just so many ways to pigeon. So let's pigeon together. Let's yoga together. Thank you guys so much. Stay curious. Be wonderful.